boop.
Episode 4. Okay, there it is.
Alrighty. Right. Now. Oh, I forgot to do the social. Oops. Now it looks like I'm playing Binding of Isaac. That is untrue.
How's your day been going so far?
Oh, relaxing.
That's good.
No, nothing to complain about. Just delete this previous tweet.
Okay, cool. And then in WXW, you listed the matches, right? Like in order.
Yeah, we're not gonna go through the whole card. That would take forever. I pretty much,
like, okay,
I pretty much did
base.
that. Yeah, I pretty much did that with Travis in
Travis.
a pre-recording because it was his first like full show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he actually caught up on it, right?
Yeah. He wanted to watch it again and with me, and he's like, "Do you want to watch it again?" I was like, "Yeah, it was a great show. I'll watch it twice. I don't give a shit." Not unlike Backlash, that horrible monstrosity of a pay-per-view. God damn.
Never again. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna take a break from WWE right now, man.
Oh my god. So my buddy, my ex-boss and friend, he works offshore still the same job. And it was really funny because he's like, well, this is kind of what we should expect from WWE these days. I'm like, that's no excuse.
Yeah, no excuse.
He's like, oh, come on, the matches weren't that bad. They were good. I'm like, that's terrible. That's a horrible. Well, you know, they were just coming off WrestleMania. That's no good. I watched hundreds of pay-per-views after WrestleMania, and they were better.
Yeah, oh yeah, man. Back in the day, Backlash was always like the big pay-per-view to order right after, man.
Oh,
not the way it used to be.
It was Backlash or Vengeance or Bad Blood or Judgment Day, like you name it. It's just too fucking funny.
And is this guy from like old wrestling or
kind of off and on?
Okay, because I was like, oh, maybe he's just gonna accept what's put in front of him.
I don't know. He's more forgiving than I am. That's for sure. He's like, man, you're just a hipster now with your indie wrestling. I'm like, no, no, I'm not.
All I know is that day, the Backlash pay-per-view, all over social media on Twitter, everybody was just saying that they were gonna cancel their WWE Network subscription. So that really speaks volumes.
Oh man, it really does. It really does. So I got a bunch of like drop buttons all set up here from the Mixer thing that I got set up. Mm-hmm. So if we do have any Mixer viewers, they can bug us with that shit, or at least I'll hear it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like let's see here. I don't know if you've seen him. I'll just take a screenshot of it. Go. Put it in Discord for you. Podcast content. There you go.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, so when you watch, you earn sparks, and then you can use those sparks to hit that button, like in the middle of the stream.
Sure.
So like, so say that I'm playing a game and I keep dying, someone can use 2 sparks to hit the Undertaker just gong sound I got as an example.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's that. All right. Okay. Cool. I can make it smaller. Perfect. There we go. Then that works.
Oh, right. And the audio feedback from you, I'm going to go ahead and just lower it a little bit so that I guess it doesn't show up on the recording.
Yeah, that would be.
Last time you mentioned there was like an echo, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
you just lower your headphone volume so your mic doesn't pick it up.
Cool.
I run into that issue with other hosts as well.
Guess I'll bring it down to like 34. All right.
Yeah, like I have, on my computer, I have you at like 12. You're not blasting my ears.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Alright, well, I'm set.
Yeah, it looks like I'm set too. Let's see, I got the episode 4 file is ready to be saved. Obviously, I'm in Discord, and on my phone, I have the text file. So yeah, I'm ready to roll when you are,
Alright,
JD.
so let me just write these down so I can timestamp everything easier. Intro, and then we're doing our Retro Wrestler, which is super fun to do. Use that network.
Yeah.
And then we got our indie and tiers. Cool. All right. Counting down. On go. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, welcome to the Red Leaf Retrocast. This is the Wrestlecast edition, brought to you by myself, JD, and my buddy Rad, known as Rad0 Online. Welcome back, Rad.
Hey, what's going on, JD? Thank you for having me again on this late night. Definitely looking forward to recording this. I know we have a lot of awesome things that we're going to touch base on. So what's going on, everybody? Very glad to be here.
Yeah, it should be fun. We're in our second episode now of the Retro Wrestler Spotlight, which is how we'll begin every episode once we get through our little intros here. We got our indie scene in which Defiant in England had a pay-per-view. WrestleCon happened. WXW had a quite the pay-per-view showing, arguably the best of the month.
Oh, it was real good.
We're definitely going to get into a very much even more indie scene. I wasn't expecting to watch it, but it's something worth talking about, which is the German Wrestling Federation. Right, everybody seems to talk about the rising scene in the UK a lot of the times, be it England, Wales, Ireland. But I feel that Germany gets glossed over quite a bit, even in that sense. So I watched 2 pay-per-views, in fact, of the German Wrestling Federation, and we'll get into that. I was pleasantly surprised. Awesome. Then we'll go into our tier 2, which New Japan had Dontaku, very big event, and then we'll touch on Hinokuni, which we weren't able to get to last time in our previous episode 3, and naturally Ring of Honor. Always got to talk about that. Not much happening in Ring of Honor these days, since their Supercard of Honor, but they did have their Bound by Honor War of the Worlds, which we'll get into some of the major things that happened there. And then WWE, or AKA as we like to call it, Tier 1, even though it doesn't feel like that these days.
Right.
Just some 205 Live, some NXT hype. I guess we'll talk about Backlash, but we'll get there for sure. Backlash is come and gone, and people are probably kind of sick of it, but yeah, we'll definitely get there at the end of the show. So if you're here for WWE only, there is a timestamp at the bottom, but I highly suggest that you definitely check out at least our indie section to really learn about the wide world of wrestling, because that's definitely why we're here, isn't it, Rad?
Oh yeah, of course.
Good stuff. Naturally, I'll update the table of wrestlers of the podcast, basically, because we cover. Now, I do want to note before we get started here, after this intro and non-self-shaming plugs, is I'm well aware of Revolution Pro had a pay-per-view, Super Strong Style 16 Progress Wrestling had a pay-per-view. The network didn't have the videos out in time, like for this episode to be recorded, so it will be featured on the next one. It's a 3-day pay-per-view, so it's no small task to take on. And also, Rad, you got to be aware of the Best of the Super Juniors going on right now. 2 days have passed.
Yeah, loosely have been following it, at least on social media. I haven't had a chance to sit and watch it myself, but I know you have, so I'm definitely looking forward to hearing everything that went on in the Super Juniors.
Oh man, I can already say that every single match that I've watched has been a pleasant surprise. Couple show stealers already, especially on day 2. The tag matches are all right. I mean, you don't need to, I say, go out of your way to watch them, but every single match hasn't been disappointing at all. They've definitely delivered in their own way. So that'll be definitely something we're gonna vastly cover on the next cast, which will be before Money in the Bank pay-per-view. So not a lot of WWE talk as a forecast for Wrestlecast 5. So, Rad, why don't you do some shameless plug for yourself, and then we can get this thing going.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, what's going on, everybody? As you all already know, my name is Rad0. You can follow me on Twitter, Rad0 at Rad083. Or you can also watch my video content on YouTube. Simply search for Rad0. I touch base on both pro wrestling and retro gaming. And if you're also into collecting, I'm a huge action figure collector. I'm always posting pictures as well on Twitter. So definitely give me a follow. And there you have it. Take it away, JD.
Alrighty. Yes, and you're listening to the Red Leaf Retrocast, Wrestlecast Episode 4. You can find us on live via Mixer and Twitch via @BowlingJD. I'm definitely going to try and push you guys, you listeners, to head over onto Mixer. I've set up annoying little interaction buttons with wrestler catchphrases and intro songs.
That's so cool.
Yeah, a little variety going there. A lot of NWO Wolfpack, Bullet Club, so you can kind of see where I'm going there. And then some. I got the John Cena meme there for as Mixer likes. Sparks. Can't just spam it, but you can hit it a few times. But yeah, if you wanna listen to the better produced and edited version, I highly recommend checking out on all your favorite podcasting outlets via Podbean. That's our hosting site, and of course iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and many more. So definitely go check it out. It's Red Leaf Retrocast, and now. Let's get into our retro wrestler spotlight of the cast.
All right.
So, unfortunately, another wrestler passed away. It goes by the name Nick Big Bully Busick, and he's more of an older wrestler for sure, the 70s, late 80s kind of guy. Not gonna lie here, didn't really know anything about him going into this. How about you? Yeah,
JD. Yeah, you're not the only one. It's unfortunate, but I'm glad that we kind of did a little bit of research.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the point of the Retro Wrestler Spotlight, is to at least it's either to nostalgia ourselves with a wrestler of our own past, since we're such long time fans. Rad, or take this opportunity to go way back, maybe before our time, or just fill the old memory noggin, you might say. And so Nick Big Bully Busick, I remember I rented. I have such a vague memory of the name, but I remember he did have a couple matches with Bret Hart, as the big Bret Hart mark that I am.
Sure.
But it was so long ago. I'm like, man, I recognize the name, but nothing more than that. So as we do, we utilize the WWE Network the best we can, and we look up the name and pick a couple matches, and lo and behold, there's only 2 matches to choose from on the network featuring this guy. So the first one we're gonna get into, we'll get into like who the guy was and what he did, like some interesting facts later. The first match was Nikolai Volkov with manager Classy Freddie Blassie against Nick Busick, not the bully gimmick yet, in 1979. So I thought I thought that was interesting to see on the network. Now I did have to kind of fiddle around with the search engine. Nick Busick. That's if you put in Bully Busick, you don't get this one, but if you put in Nick Busick, you'll find this match.
Oh, that certainly explains it. Yeah, that's why I missed out on this match, but I'm interested to hear about it.
Well, I thought it was funny that Bruno Sammartino was on commentary since he was our first Retro Spotlight wrestler that we covered.
Oh, wow, full circle.
Yeah, very quickly, I might add. And Nikolai Volkov is a much more bigger household name, certainly, along with Classy Freddie Blassie. Correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But basically...
Nikolai is.
Oh, yeah, and Big Bully Busick, or at least Nick Busick in this case, he just looked like this up-and-coming guy, much smaller in comparison to Nikolai Volkov. Nikolai Volkov just looked like he towered over the guy. Classy Freddie Blassie was just the little spunky manager, just annoying, getting in the way. People hated him in the crowd, but whatever. Busick kind of looked like he had this build of more like what guys in the 50s used to look like. You know, always skipping leg day, but the chest was this kind of round, kind of muscle build. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
And it definitely shows in the second match, which we'll get into. But Busick, he didn't really move too well. This was just basically a beatdown, a squash match, essentially. Volkov just beat the hell out of him, like punched him, threw him down a couple times. There was this weird spot where Volkov pushes Busick, and Busick tries to sell it, and he flips over the top rope, or at least he tried to, and it looked like his head went through a little bit of a whiplash motion, and it looked like he was noticeably hurt from then on, because the match then came to a screeching halt.
I was about to ask if it seemed to be intentional, but I guess it was a botched intentional move.
Yeah, it was definitely a botch. It looked like Busick intentionally wanted to go over the rope, but totally didn't handle it too well. Like you see moments where Volkov is standing over him, and then he leans down and clearly talks to him to make sure he's okay and everything. So this basically kind of proved to me that Busick was this lower card guy, or as we know as jobbers now. Yeah. And the match then quickly ended shortly after there. Not much else to report, but it was definitely interesting just seeing a match from like 1979 and seeing an old how a jobber was even back then. Well, on to our second match. It was this was many years later now, 1991. This is the one you saw, Rad. Sure. It was Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich against now Big Bully Busick. What'd you think of the way he looked? Like, describe how he looks now. Now he's got a gimmick.
Yeah, it seems to me that the gimmick is, I guess that he was straight out of the 1920s, so to speak. He had, the top hat going on and that amazing mustache. I think that's probably the most noticeable, part of his entire gimmick. And he even, rocks it throughout the match. It's so hilarious. You can tell that they took some time, keeping that sucker up. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the role he played. It even seemed to me that he kind of, he was the heel in this match, obviously, and I think he played the role of a jobber as well. I don't know, maybe you want to go into more of the details regarding the match.
Well, he didn't get the shit kicked out of him as opposed to the Nikolai Volkov one. He'd clearly been in the industry a little while. He looked like he wasn't just going to be straight pummeled this time.
I'm glad you brought that up because it was back and forth, and it lasted, maybe a good solid 8 minutes or so.
Yeah.
I mean, compared to what you described in the previous one, I would imagine that was legitimately a squash, and that really wasn't the case in this one.
Yeah, you brought up the mustache. I mean, that thing was just thick. It looked amazing.
Yeah, cartoon character, man, Monopoly guy.
Oh God, yeah, the bowler hat, the smirk on his face. Now his body is even more built than what it was previously. He what it reminded me of was those guys in Family Guy where they're lifting the triangular weights and they're just like,
oh yes. Yeah.
They're like, top of the morning, yes, top of the morning to you. Why don't we lift our triangular weights and do some leg thrusts? Oh, I agree. But he definitely had a much more douchier persona. He looked like he came into his own character here. I noticed that the commentary was talking up the Hogan versus The Undertaker casket match the entire time.
I noticed that. It's like they weren't even paying attention to the match, they were just talking about Hogan Taker. It was hilarious.
Yeah. Now, you would think after, let's see, from 1979 to 1991, 12 years later, maybe he's for sure got a much more technical background, right? At the very least.
I think it might have showed in this match. I noticed that most of the moves he was pulling off were like, sleeper holds, bear hugs, things of that nature.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what I have in my notes here. I noticed
challenging Kerry Von Erich for a test of strength.
Yes, it was very basic maneuvers. I noticed that there was an arm drag that Texas Tornado went for, and Busick just kind of trips over him and then does like a forward roll.
Oh yeah.
That wasn't very well done at all. So clearly he's not a very agile guy. He didn't like sell really anything. But yeah, it was all just kind of the rest holds. Even those looked pretty clunky. No reversals of any moves at all. It was just moving on to the next kind of rest and sleeper hold. Much like what we saw at Backlash. Ha ha ha.
Right.
Yeah. Just and if any selling, it was from what the Texas Tornado was doing throughout the match. And there's Texas Tornado just out of nowhere bounces off the ropes, does a discus punch, and knocks him the fuck out. So it was just there. There it is. So
I guess, and in this business, we already know there's stars and there's jobbers, and it just seems to me that the Bully Busick definitely fit the role of the jobber, and even after being very experienced, you can still tell that he was just stuck in that role, and he definitely made Kerry Von Erich look good in this match, at least.
He fulfilled his role, I would say, as well. Yeah. Even though he looked clunky, it was fine. It served his purpose. Get that paycheck is what I say.
That's what it was all about.
Now, upon doing a little bit more research on the guy, since the network has basically nothing on him, he apparently, I came across some interviews, and he never went under any formal wrestling training, ever. He learned everything while he was performing in the ring, which I thought was interesting. Yeah, so 12 years of doing that. He and he wasn't always wrestling in those 12 years either. He kind of like started his own business and then went back to it when
like they needed something he did on the side or something.
Yeah. What would fill in the role when needed, when I guess WWF at the time was in the area because it had that big expansion, as we know. They needed more wrestlers, especially jobbers, to fill in those roles to the higher ups, and this was a great example of that. I also found a video of him on YouTube of him just coming out with Harvey Whippleman of all guys, where he would have this giant like 1920s cigar, and he would pop children's balloons as he'd go.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and that kind of led into this like Doink the Clown feud. I couldn't find videos on it, but I saw little interviews of him talking about his time like with Doink, and they would just kind of like try to one up each other, and Doink would do the funny antics while he would get mad like an old cartoon villain. He's like, "Oh, you stop that, you clown!" And he would Doink would give the kid a balloon, and he would pop it in return. Just do dick things like that.
Yeah.
His major feud, which I'm actually surprised this isn't on the network, was with the Brooklyn Brawler, which is probably one of the most famous jobbers of all time.
Right, I was about to say another jobber. So.
And this whole feud they ended up having in the undercard was who the real bully of the WWF was at the time. It just sounded ridiculous. I wish this was on the network. I would love to just go back and see even a 5-minute match of these two just going, "No, I'm gonna be more dick than you."
Yeah, it's like the biggest dick, the biggest jobber championship.
Yeah. The loserweight title, you might say. Yeah. So that was Big Bully Busick. It was just kind of fun seeing going back and seeing what an old jobber used to be, and not much has changed over the years, but they at least had gimmicks back then for jobbers, it seemed. Agreed, Rad?
Totally.
Yeah. All right. Well, why don't we move on to you got some news with WrestleCon? you wanted to talk about?
Which part of wrestle? Are you talking about the All In Starcast?
Yeah, go for that. Go for
Okay.
anything WrestleCon wise you want to talk about.
Awesome.
This is your time to shine.
Cool. Yeah. Well, apparently, I guess it all started with the All In event, as everybody has already heard on social media and whatnot, that they actually sold out within minutes. And you're talking about a 10,000, seated arena, which was originally said that could never be pulled off by any independent, wrestling promotion.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to me that what Cody Rhodes and the rest of his buddies are helping him put this together really proved everybody wrong. And I'm actually happy to see that, because again, they show time and time again that you do not have to be in the WWE or wrestle at WrestleMania to be successful in this industry. And if there is a wrestling boom happening, it is right now, and it's happening in the indies. So I'm just so happy to see positive news like that for independent wrestling. And apparently they're going to have this WrestleCon, I think it's called the Starcast, as well, going on that weekend. So it seems to me that this is already coming off as like the Super Bowl event for independent wrestling. So I guess you can essentially think of it as the independent wrestling's version of WrestleMania, and it's really looking cool. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be attending, but I will be following the festivities, online. I have some buddies that will be providing coverage, on their YouTube channels and whatnot.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to see this. I know independent wrestlers are a lot easier, to get in touch with if you want to do interviews as well. So I know there'll be a lot of that on social media as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be an exciting weekend, come all in weekend time and all of its festivities. So I'm just glad you brought it up. I think it was something to definitely touch base on this episode of the Wrestlecast, and I'm pretty sure anybody listening to us right now would definitely agree that if there was ever a time to get into independent wrestling, it is right now.
There you go. And then I got a funny Macho Man drop for that.
Oh
yeah! That was his "Oh yeah" from the Slim Jim commercial.
Oh hell yeah!
Back in the 90s.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Unfortunately, I can't hear it right now, but I'll definitely check it out later.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, let's get into our indie scene. What do you say, Rad? Since we're on that topic.
Yeah, we're already on that topic. Take it away.
Alright, so the first one I want to touch on is probably the oldest pay-per-view we have yet to cover, which is out of Defiant, aka the XWCPW. They've now rebranded, and successfully, I might add. Their pay-per-view is called No Regrets, and I want to say
I'm looking at the card right now. Is that the Walter from WXW?
Yes.
Oh man, I can't believe I missed that.
Yeah, there was a lot of stars from Progress that kind of started up. This was their kind of Royal Rumble event. That's what the No Regrets is. They had one last year, and it was okay. I would say this one was definitely better. We'll definitely get into the Rumble, which was the main event. A lot of Progress stars showed up. Walter from WXW. He showed up because he's in a feud, which we'll get to. But first, there was the opening event, which was for the women's title, the 21st Century Badass Millie McKenzie taking on the super hot women's wrestler right now. Not Toni Storm quite yet, but in Kaylee Ray.
Very nice. Very
good match. Not the best one of the month for women, but a very solid match. Little too much non-selling for my taste. A lot of super kicks by Kaylee Ray. A lot of German suplexes by Millie McKenzie. It kind of reminded me of a WWE type match, actually. And it ended up ending with McKenzie hitting a Canadian Destroyer on the apron and pinning Kaylee Ray. Just those apron moves just don't seem to want to stop, do they, Rad?
Oh no, they continue.
It was nuts. I couldn't I actually got a big pop out of myself and shock value when I did see it, because they pulled it off very well. Congrats, that's a tough move in anyone's book. I remember seeing Nixon Newell try a Canadian Destroyer against B. Priestley when the promotion first started, and it was totally botched a couple times, and now it just seems like the women are getting a handle on these tougher moves they're pulling off. I'm just waiting for more Spanish flies to start showing now.
Yeah, I bet it would.
But yeah, good match. Kaylee Ray is just excellent. I really liked what I saw out of her here. The next match was Walter takes on Travis Banks for the Internet title. Their midweight title, basically.
Okay.
Very hard-hitting, as one would expect out of a Walter-Travis Banks match. Both are hard-hitting dudes. And it ended up going to a no decision, which was basically the high point in the match. You could definitely tell they were holding themselves back a little bit, probably for a bigger showdown. And
okay, so I'm guessing this is probably in the middle of a feud that's not yet over.
Correct.
Okay.
And they're even feuding. They were all at around the same time, also feuding for the main title in Progress during Super Strong Style 16. I haven't gotten to that match yet, but I imagine that they're doing. There was a lot of continuity in this entire pay-per-view, which I really appreciated. I could definitely just coming from a guy who keeps up not just with Defiant but a bunch of other UK promotions. That this is just great to see.
You're on fire right now, JD. You totally follow all these promotions. That's why I look forward to this Wrestlecast, because it's where I get to brush up and catch up, so to speak.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But Walter chopped the hell out of Banks a few times. Banks really held his own. I really liked it. The no decision was Walter hooks in his sleeper hold after he beats the hell out of you. That he likes going there, and Banks actually kind of reversed the chokehold to just lean back and put Walter's shoulders on the ground. So you see where we're going here.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. As the 3 count was going down, Banks tapped out. It goes to a no decision. Banks retains the title.
Okay.
Walter mad. Walter must crush now.
Yeah. Any chops in the match?
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot. There was a good small exchange. Good little technical reversals going on. Again, I think that it was clear as day that they were just holding back for a bigger, more primetime event since this was mid-card.
Right. Maybe they'll put in some sort of extreme stipulation.
There's going to be something involved for sure down the line.
Yeah.
Then there was some few other matches that aren't really worth mentioning. The main title was defended. Austin Aries, the reigning champ in Defiant, was finally defeated by Rampage, a guy who's been there since the start for 2 years, and he's never actually won the title in Defiant, even back when it was WCPW. And me included, I thought he would have been one of the first guys to get it, but pretty much a nice little underdog story. He always got to the main event, but never could win the main thing. So that's a good story, but Austin Aries looked fantastic in this match. Rampage looked fantastic. Lots of back and forth. I thought it was pretty well paced. Austin Aries is really good in the ring, but Rampage really surprised me in this. He pulled out a lot more technical type wrestling than I've come to expect from him.
Okay.
So that was really good to see. The ending, I didn't really like at all. So Rad, this is how it went down. Austin Aries kind of turns the ref around, then he kicks Rampage in the nuts. See a lot of this going around lately, don't we?
Oh yeah.
That's a call out to what we'll discuss later.
Yeah.
And he hits the brainbuster, pins him, retains the title, or so we'd think. Wade Barrett, aka Stu Bennett, was ringside, and he's the general manager, and he goes, "I'm afraid I got some bad news, haha, cheap pop."
Oh, he actually said that?
Yep. He goes, if you think you're gonna walk away with the title after defending it like that, I'm afraid I got some bad news. Basically, the management's all up over Austin Aries for being just a dick in England, pretty much, and they're sick of him just not showing up for work. Another continuity thing with what's happening in WWE. So you see indie promotions kind of feed off issues that are happening, and basically match restarts, and Rampage just gets a quick win, gets the title. So I thought it was it works, I guess. I thought it could have been handled a little bit better, honestly, especially for a main title match. You know? No, maybe.
Sure, no, I'm definitely with you.
Yeah,
Especially there was a world title match.
yeah. Yeah, it just seemed like a cheap thing to do with the GM just saying, no, I don't agree with that, restart, and then quick loss. I don't expect Austin Aries will be back anytime soon. He seems to be pretty tied up in Impact these days. I think it looks like he's going to start dropping a lot of his belts.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. This sounds like if maybe this was their way of writing him off, at least from Defiant right now. We'll probably start seeing that down the line as he's losing more championships.
Yeah, for sure. So then after the match, we spoke in the in a previous cast that Primate and Defiant had to retire to basically a glass jaw, heavy injury to his jaw, and Stu Bennett, Wade Barrett, says, I was here for the basically the brand switch, defining Defiant basically. My time here is done now that Austin Aries is out of power as the champion. We got a real champion, so here's a new GM, and Primate comes out, and the people are really happy to see him again.
Oh wow! So they're pulling the Daniel Bryan Page type of thing with this guy.
Oh yeah, exactly. But Primate was one of the guys who helped start the company. So it's nice to see this kind of guy kind of just stay within the organization.
Still involved, right?
Yeah, he clearly garners a lot of respect back in the locker room. So, well, the main event was the Rumble, and this was sure something, Red.
So how did that go down?
I mean, I liked it, but it wasn't great.
Okay.
I mean, who doesn't like a Rumble? It could be the greatest Royal Rumble where it's a bunch of tag teams and they're all getting jobbed out to singles wrestlers.
Yeah.
Well, this one was unlike anything I'd really seen before. Defiant has a lot of comedic elements in it. I've come to expect that from the wrestling promotion. But man, this one just took it over the edge. This is definitely where the stigma of ridiculous indie wrestling comes into play.
Oh, okay. So I guess they just overdid it in this one. And you know what? I wouldn't expect anything less coming from What Culture. Obviously, that's not what they call themselves anymore, but they were a comedic, group to begin with.
Sure. So this is how it went down. And I'm just gonna feel free to interrupt and chime in when you hear something that makes you laugh or you hear something that makes you happy.
Okay.
All right. So number one entry was Joe Hendry, the prestigious one. Mm-hmm. Okay. Number two entry was David Starr. Okay.
Okay.
Joe Hendry pretty much says we don't need to have a Rumble. It's okay. I win by default because there is no Rumble and I'm out here first.
Jeez.
Number three entry was Team Hendry. Just two random dudes he picked up in the back before the match, and he hired him.
So now they're totally behind him in this Rumble match.
Sure, yeah. And then number four is Walter. His music hits, the crowd erupts because the 3-on-1 is no longer going to happen against David Starr. Hendry immediately runs out of the ring and puts a commentary headset down, and he just kind of starts talking. He's like, "Whoa, got out of there. Well, let's see what Walter's got." So he pretends to be out of the match, and that was kind of his shtick throughout the entire Rumble. He would stick on commentary and then kind of poach people as things would happen, events would occur. And Walter just beats the shit out of people, right?
Right. That's what he's known for.
Big head, every entrant until he was thrown out, at least got one chop apiece. He also went on to eliminate the two random dudes from Team Hendry. Number 5, Millie McKenzie, the women's champion, came out
in a men's Rumble match.
Yep.
Interesting.
And that'll be a theme that we'll get into. But Suplex City, she basically gives everyone a German suplex as she comes in. She hits hard, really good pop. She attempts to suplex Walter, but someone gets in her way. So, really keeping kind of our suspension of disbelief, not totally out of the realm of crazy, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Travis Banks, nothing really happens from 5 to 9. Millie McKenzie was thrown out at some point. Memory serves, I kind of missed it. Another woman ended up throwing her out.
So
Travis
how many
Banks
women were available in this
I
match?
believe 4.
Oh, okay.
So Millie McKenzie came out. Kaylee Ray was the last one to come out. Lana Austin, girl with the nice big booty. She was kind of just hanging out in a corner, kind of doing the road dog technique in the Rumble.
Sure.
Which was kind of funny. Who was the other one? I can't remember. Not important. Okay, so 9, Travis Banks comes out, and at this point, Walter's standing in the middle of the ring, everyone's down. He's not paying attention. Walter and Banks have a small exchange, and then David Starr ends up throwing out Walter. So more continuity here. We spoke in the last cast how Walter keeps one-upping Starr every time. If memory serves you, Rad.
Yes, I do.
So that got a big pop out of the crowd. Even commentary went nuts. Like, Starr finally gets the better on Walter. Oh my god. Starr was elated. Nothing really happens in between until TK Cooper comes out at 12. And then this is when the comedy hour starts going little crazy.
Oh, you mean so it hasn't started yet? Right.
I mean, there was some funny little elements there mixed in. But TK Cooper kind of any comedic elements that was going to happen, TK Cooper would like super kick someone. I think Lana Austin ended up taking a super kick at some point from TK Cooper because he wasn't having it and the crowd just hated it.
So he's just kicking everybody.
He was like anything that would happen, TK Cooper would stop it. Or Chris Brooks, that he was the other guy. So, like at one, well, I'll get into that in a second. Number 15, Simon Miller from What Culture gets his in-ring debut.
Of course.
Of course. I mean, he's a well-built guy, that's for sure. And he pulled off some clotheslines, a little hip toss. He wasn't going out of the realm of what he was capable of. It looked like they booked him pretty well. It looks like he's gonna be going into a feud down the line with the way he was thrown out and everything.
The push.
At least a small push. He's definitely starting small.
Yeah.
When Simon Miller hit the ring, I'll just go into from 15 to 22 until Mark Haskins came out at 22. Mostly just comedy from here, and that's a long period of time. There was a dance off with one of the Indian descent wrestlers. That's when Chris Brooks just wasn't having it. Like, no fun duns. Like, stop dancing. He comes out and he gets thrown out. When Simon Miller came out, after Simon Miller came out, a guy who kind of has this gimmick of Thor. He's really muscly. He pulled out like muscle oil, and they had a muscle off in the middle of the match, and Lana Austin like got in between. She muscled up her boobs and butt, and she was in the middle.
No, that's actually kind of hilarious, but I'm guessing it was pretty much overdone at this point.
I mean, I think it was okay spaced between all the comedy elements, but the entire middle of the Rumble was basically being overshadowed by these comedic elements. I forget which one it was, but an inflatable doll makes an appearance in the Rumble and throws...
Is it like an actual spot in the Rumble?
Yeah, it's an actual spot in the Rumble. Like a dude is dressed all in black, like you would in a green screen type thing, and he was...
Yeah.
The inflatable like sex doll was beating people up. At one point, like David Starr gets like a DDT's reversed and he spins and he spin DDTs himself. I mean, I was like, good on you, David Starr. You fucking sold a spinning DDT from an inflatable doll. Mark Davis from Aussie Open, huge dude, gets Hurricane Rana out of the ring by an inflatable doll. The inflatable doll's like second elimination, if memory
Jim
serves.
Cornette would be pissed off at this
Oh
point.
my god, it was ridiculous. So finally, number 22, Mark Haskins comes out and he takes an actual knife and kills the doll and throws it out.
Oh, so like it popped or what?
Yeah. And the crowd's like, you sick fuck, you sick fuck.
God.
But thank God that was the end.
Right.
When the inflatable doll went out, the comedic elements were finally gone. The last 8 guys came out. One of the elements was Joe Hendry. Prestigious one eliminates his partner heel El Ligero, and they kind of had like a little fallout. He tries to shake his hand. He's like, "Hey, it's a rumble, every man for himself," and El Ligero wasn't having it. And number 30, face El Ligero comes out. Like, he changed all of his dark gear, and now he's in his like white and blue again.
Right.
So he had a persona change like mid-match, and he came out in 30, and it kind of came down to Ligero, Hendry, Martin Kirby is kind of the final 3, and inevitably Martin Kirby, who had a big injured leg, overcomes like 3 finishers and a cheap shot from Joe Hendry and just kind of throws him out. So he wins the second straight No Regrets Rumble. Star was in the last 4, so he was number 2 to the final 4. So good on him. He performed great. He was definitely the MVP in the Rumble. Joe Hendry was MVP heel, but he didn't really do much other than kind of go back and forth between that and commentary.
And they were the 2 that actually started, right?
Yes, yeah.
1 and 2.
Yeah, 1 and 2. I don't really like seeing that, although when you see it in every single Rumble, it really gets old. You're just like, okay, 1 or 2 is going to last to like the end. Woohoo.
Yeah.
I think it's overdone now in all these Rumbles.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like Martin Kirby winning, especially the way he won. That's just my opinion on it. I gotta say, the women looked and were booked fantastic in this Rumble. Everything was very believable. The moves that they were pulling off. Kaylee Ray, even in the Rumble, looked strong. Like, she could take a kick. She wasn't doing moves to the men that were not believable. Looked great. I really liked seeing the women be strong looking in this kind of match.
Sure.
Even Lana Austin, when she's clearly not the most capable women's wrestler, at least compared to Millie McKenzie and Kaylee Ray, her kind of hanging out in the corner and hiding the whole time, well within my suspension of disbelief of her lasting as long as she did. So that was the Rumble. Martin Kirby gets a title shot against Rampage. Good for him. I just didn't like the way it went down. The Rumble was entertaining. Wasn't the best, but it was entertaining. And that's Defiant No Regrets.
So would you say it was, I guess, a pretty solid event, at least before the Rumble?
Well, I mean, you'll be entertained by the Rumble, for sure. I thought it was a solid event. I don't know if it was because basically, with the exception of Rampage Austin Aries, it looks like all of these things are gonna continue on from here into the next pay-per-view. So maybe the next one would be the one to be worth checking out, because the Rumble here is the main attraction, and I think it did its job. Just the ending, I think, and the overuse of comedy kind of went a little too far. Well then. Now, unless you have any final thoughts over that, or from what you've heard.
No, I'm good. We can definitely move on to the next promotion.
Okay. Well, this is the German Wrestling Federation. Think of WXW has the streaming service, right? And the a lot more kind of international pull, much higher production value. I like to think of it as kind of the Impact or TNA during its better years in Germany, while the German Wrestling Federation is kind of an up and coming promotion. It's definitely older, but it's kind of stuck in this gritty type persona. So I like to think of it as kind of more of a Ring of Honor type thing. They had 2 pay-per-views. One was Women's Wrestling Revolution, an all-women-focused pay-per-view.
All women, okay.
I went out of my way to watch it because I was very curious. I kind of liked... It was a lot of women wrestlers I wasn't familiar with. A lot of young wrestlers.
Toni Storm was on the card?
She was definitely on the card. She was definitely why I wanted to see it.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
And then the other one was Mystery Mayhem, which was one of their main pay-per-views of the year.
Okay.
So the Progress Women's title was actually defended here. It was Toni Storm versus Vesna, a seasoned veteran from Croatia. She's kind of got some bum knees going on. She's been doing this a while. She looks like a more badass version of Nia Jax.
Okay.
Is how I'd put it. Solid match. Vesna's a good veteran wrestler. I have no complaints out of her. Toni Storm, she's the total package as we constantly go into. No doubt. Ended with a Storm Zero pile driver on the apron to win. So we have another women's title match ending with an apron spot.
Wow, okay.
Which I thought was interesting. I was like, okay, I get another one. All right.
Yeah, she's doing a lot more of those these days.
Yeah, but it was a good match. I have no complaints about it at all. And that was in the mid card too, essentially. The main event. I mean, there was a lot of like storylines going here with there was some romantic elements brought in, basically showcasing a lot of the other women's wrestlers. Like who are some I want to name? This like luchador Irish chick named Valkyrie looks really good. I really liked her. The Hungarian Kill Bill girl, you remember her, Audrey Bride? She was there. She looked all right. So there was some familiar faces, a lot of new ones.
The same character.
Oh yeah, she's still got all the whole yellow gimmick going on.
Nice.
Good stuff. But the definitely, like, no doubt the takeaway from this was the main event. It was a no disqualification for the women's title there in GWF. It was Blue Nikita versus Katie Harvey, the defending champion.
Right.
I wasn't too familiar with either one. I'd kind of heard of Katie Harvey, so I didn't know what to expect. Do you remember Sasha Banks Charlotte's kind of Hell in a Cell match?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, kendo stick hits, the table spot where the table didn't break.
Hardcore match.
It ended up turning into kind of this super hardcore match. I was very impressed. No, there wasn't blood, but there was a lot of good spots, a lot of good kendo shot hits.
It was mostly taking bumps and whatnot.
Yeah, a lot of hard bumps. I was like, oh wow, that was really cool. Some chair shots to the head a couple times, working the legs. At one point, there was a suplex through a table and spotted up in the corner, and it just shattered. It looked amazing. I was like, wow, everything that they were doing, they were just nailing out of the water. And it finally ended with Katie Harvey doing a Canadian Destroyer on a chair to Blue Nikita to win the match. The difference here was Nikita landed more on her shoulders than the head, which for
safety.
I really like. I hope it was for safety reasons. That's what I like to, because if you do a Canadian Destroyer on the head first on a chair, that could go wrong in so many other ways. Landing on the chair wrong, what have you. So I really like the little kind of spot with the shoulders. And damn, Katie Harvey looks really good. And it went on into Mystery Mayhem, which I'll just go straight into. There was another title defense, a Fatal 4-Way against where Katie Harvey, who then, I must have missed it as I was watching Women's Revolution there. Apparently she's undefeated in the promotion and still looks absolutely fantastic. She looked a little slower based on, the beating she took. I think it must have been only like a couple days prior. And Valkyrie was in this match here, and Valkyrie looks like a lucha version of Becky Lynch.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah. Vesna was in the match again, and I don't have her name written down, but she's known as like the Amazon. She's this really tall, brutal looking black woman. She looks like she's going to be a force to be reckoned with going forward. But Valkyrie is definitely someone to keep an eye on. She looked very smooth in the ring. I liked a lot of her spots that she did. Nice little moonsaults. She did kind of miss one, but I'll give a pass for now. But again, Katie Harvey comes out on top again, and I gotta say, I'm a Katie Harvey fan. Like, she sold me in these 2 pay-per-views here in GWF. She's definitely going to be on my radar going forward. I liked everything I saw out of her. She's this taller-looking woman, as opposed to Toni Storm's kind of small, mobile type wrestling. I hope to see them fight in the future. At the very least, WXW. I want to see them in that promotion fight against each other.
Sounds pretty good. I'm gonna have to check this Katie girl out then. Maybe watch a couple of her matches.
Yeah, and then for the rest of Mystery Mayhem, I mean, it was okay. It was a little below what I saw from Defiant. There was this big hard-hitting dude named Pascal Spalter. That's his name. Pascal Spalter. He's this huge, big hard-hitting dude. Reminds me of a kind of a Rampage, but more chops like Walter. I looked him up. He's a former 3-time champ of the promotion, so it totally made sense why he came across with this big brooding persona and aura about him. Apparently this dude Matt Cross, which I've heard the name so many times, and I'm sure I've seen him in matches in the past. I just kind of forgot about him. Returned from injury. He looked great. He joined. There was this weird like tag team kind of match going on where he joined John Klinger, which was why I wanted to watch Mystery Mayhem, see how John Klinger's doing. He looks like he's doing all right in GWF, kind of coming into his own. What I liked here was the continuity, where Tarkan Aslan, a member of Rise and WXW, he had to be on the same team as John Klinger, and they kind of, even though they won the match, they clearly don't get along anymore. They have a real problem with each other. The ex-leader of Rise and the current member of Rise, so...
Sure, so it still continues.
It still continues, which I really like. They just didn't straight up ignore it.
Yeah.
So, definitely Katie Harvey was what I took out of GWF, and it was nice to see John Klinger doing well, like all the continuity. But the pay-per-view... Women's Revolution was definitely entertaining, but Mystery Mayhem, I would say skip for now. It's still even more indie than it should be, I think, at this point. It's kind of a rough watch. I mean, the wrestlers are solid, but I think the production needs a lot of help. This is a promotion that's set in Berlin, so it's kind of the East German promotion as opposed to WXW, which takes place in Oberhausen, which is in the West. So I thought that was kind of a touch there. Some thoughts over GWF and what I've said?
No, I am definitely interested in seeing what Katie Harvey has to offer. I want to see. I may have come across her on social media, so I'm gonna maybe like Google some of her matches and definitely check it out if she's definitely a woman to keep our eyes on.
Yeah. Well, now let's get into. Well, before you and I get into WXW Rad, this is a big German type indie focus here. We'll definitely get into more England in episode 5. That'll be our next one. Before we talk about the pay-per-view Superstars of Wrestling from WXW, we're gonna go into my interview with Travis Hibiki TMD and his thoughts over his first full WXW pay-per-view.
Finally.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Rad, we heard what Travis had to say. Travis and I went through match by match, but let's want you and me just kind of since you now have watched an entire. This is now your second WXW pay-per-view. Yes, I wrote some notes down on the agenda here over some of the higher moments. Why don't you just kind of talk to me about what you took away from this, kind of like what I did with GWF previously?
Yeah, sure. I guess I'll go down the line of the brief card and notes that you have here on the agenda. Pretty much, I guess, overall, before I get into anything, I thought it was a fantastic show. I was definitely entertained top to bottom. I guess the focus here was that I guess it was essentially WXW versus Ring of Honor type of pay-per-view. Of course, they didn't promote it that way, but we all know, that was the case, being, every single match that was, on the card. I know a lot of wrestlers made appearances, including Mortis from Lucha Underground.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Big dude.
yeah, even I know they had some legends on the card as well. I remember Christopher Daniels in his match against Bobby Guns. He was defeated, but that was a pretty good heel versus heel type of match. They both definitely played the role well, but the crowd was definitely into it. Another match that I remember.
What do you think
very
of Bobby
well.
Guns now? What did you think?
Yeah,
What did you think of his promo
definitely.
work and everything, and him in the
Yeah,
ring?
I think he's really good. He definitely has a bright future ahead of him. I like the way he works his promos. His in-ring performances are top notch.
Mm-hmm.
Real good. That's not to take away, maybe Christopher Daniels might have helped a little bit in that, but either way, this heel versus heel match definitely worked. Obviously, when we see that in the mainstream, so to speak, need I say the that definitely does not work. Neither when you put a face versus a face. It always has to be face versus heel. But these two guys really went at it, and I think the crowd was into it. Of course, at the end of the match, after everything went down, I think Christopher Daniels kind of looked more like the face either way, probably because he was the legend in this. But as far as Bobby
Oh, for
Guns is
sure.
concerned, yeah, he's definitely a guy to keep our eyes on.
Bitches and
Um,
gentlemen, I'm gonna take your girlfriend and then make you so broke that you're gonna need vouchers to eat at McDonald's.
yeah, that was great.
Fucking love this guy. I love him more
Yeah,
and more every time I see him. He's got a cool
yeah,
little.
he really knows how to do that heel work.
Oh yeah, and then smoking the cigarette just adds to it. It's
That
great.
just adds to it. Just makes him look so badass, and that's something
The
that lacks today.
Yeah, on Shotgun, the WXW Weekly show, occasionally he has his own little talk show, kind of like Talk is Jericho or Miz TV kind of thing. He calls it Raucherpause, smoke break, basically. And
Oh, are you serious?
yeah,
That's
he's just sitting.
freaking awesome.
He's either doing a promo in the back or he's just sitting in the ring smoking a cigarette. He's just like, all right, smoke break. Here are my thoughts. I'm kicking ass, taking names. I'm taking your girlfriend too. All right, move on.
Yeah.
I really
So
like it.
ECW.
It reminded me a lot of kind of an ECW type thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, well, continue, Red. I just had to get that out there.
Yeah. Going into the tag team championships, that they got stolen by the there was like a heel turn. Correct me if I'm wrong. What were the names again?
JFK.
That's right. All of a sudden they came out and they just took the championships with them. It was good stuff. I wasn't expecting to see that. Um,
Yeah, they got
but
they highlighted their kind of new persona catchphrase. Phrase. Phase.
right,
Phrase.
right.
Jesus. It's called. Yeah, they basically.
Catchphrase.
They basically go. We're fresher than you. It's very
Put that on a
2018 of
t-shirt.
them. Yeah, if they come out with a T-shirt of that, I might have to get it because it'd just be JFK. Just fresher than you in pink font. It's pretty funny. Yeah, they got this little cocky kind of douchebag persona about him now. I think it works for him.
Yeah, it really does work.
I think one of the member or both of the members are gay, or at least they're like this transsexual thing going on. I can't seem to get a confirmation on it. I swear, I think they are
I
though.
remember, yeah, you mentioning that I think, at least as far as real life is concerned, you mentioned that one of them actually is, gay in real life, and the other one is just playing the character for the tag team, I guess.
I think
But
so. I
like you
haven't
said,
been
it's
able to
not
confirm it
confirmed.
though.
Yeah,
But I do respect that. I know Jack Sexsmith is like pansexual or something. He's in progress and he's super proud of it. He's got a tag team with David Starr where they kind of
it is
they're
very open
called, yeah,
about
they're
it.
called Sexy Star and they like kiss each other and stuff. Whatever. It's pretty funny.
Yeah,
It works. But yeah, JFK turned heel. I quite like this move for him. They've been losing like all year, and especially in the big tag matches. It was about damn time, if you ask me.
yeah, yeah.
And
I think this is definitely going to work, and I think it just elevated them to newer heights. So I guess we'll see how that affects the tag team championship over there at WXW.
Yeah, and I'm definitely gonna play a drop here for JFK.
Hit me with the power of the Ultimate Warrior.
There we go.
All right.
They've been hit with the power of the Ultimate Warrior, indeed.
So yeah, I guess before we go into the main event, which was pretty much, I guess, the reason why a lot of us ended up tuning in,
Mm-hmm.
Dragunov versus Walter, and he made the dude tap out clean, which I was not expecting either. That was definitely a good match from the previous one that we watched before, JD, which was pretty much, Chop City coming from Walter. Now it looked like Dragunov took out, his hands. He was unable to use them, so Walter was trying to find different ways to attack him. I thought it was great in-ring psychology, a lot of great storytelling there. I think with the one chop that we saw, which was maybe towards the end, that Walter had to kind of like sacrifice his hand, it did a number on Dragunov's chest. So
yeah, he like immediately bled.
This guy has in his hands, so crazy. Obviously it didn't get as red as it did at the last pay-per-view, but he did get a little mark with just one. So that was probably highlight of the match. But yeah, it was a real good match. They really worked it well. And again, not to take away the fact that Walter was basically not using his hands or his arms, throughout. So
yeah, it was a slow disintegration of Walter being able to use his hands and arms effectively to the point where he just, that one chop, story-wise, led to his downfall.
Yeah.
And honestly, Rad, I'm at a torn possibility that this could be not my number one match of the year, but it's definitely in my top 5. But I haven't decided like where it's gonna go yet, because the continuity in this match compared to the last one, the built rivalry, the return of Dragunov at 16 karat gold, where he took the title, everything this match was, and how technically worked it was, especially how different it was from their the previous match, where it was whereas, as you said, Chop City, it was just so good. I haven't been this invested in a match all year, as opposed to the Kenny Omega Chris Jericho match at Wrestle Kingdom.
Sure.
This one was old school booking, done right.
Perfectly described.
It just reminded me. It was floods of memories coming back of like, this is what I watch wrestling for.
Yeah, this is definitely what wrestling is about, and I think what sells these matches very well is the storytelling behind it, and these guys really know how to pull it off. I mean, not only in the the in-ring performance, but the interviews going into matches, coming out of matches. When they showed them signing the contract, it just gives it that big fight feel, and here we are watching a wrestling match in the indies of in Germany, of all places. And they're really pulling it off, making it seem like that, big match feel to it. And I totally ate it up. I think, the storytelling has been fantastic. The build-up has been great. I was already invested in this since I got to witness the last pay-per-view. So obviously this was the saga that continued. And Dragunov making Walter tap out clean, I think, was the perfect conclusion. It was the final climax. And my favorite takeaway from this match was not the result itself, but what happened after. And these guys, finally shook hands. As you saw, Walter still sold the injury on his hands during that little segment. It was great. It just made it look realistic. And finally, these two guys just let bygones be bygones. It's over. This is what, the result that came out of it was, and that was it. So this is what wrestling is all about. You're supposed to have a saga, maybe a trilogy of matches, so to speak, and it has to come to an end, and that's where it ends.
I couldn't agree more. I quite liked how Walter had lost now twice to Dragunov, and in this third one he started off the match not shaking his hand. Like, he was, it set the tone that Walter was serious.
He was still serious about it.
As Jurn Simmons on commentary was saying, is like, this isn't very ring conf. Is this ring conf of him? Which means kind of respect the ring and respect how you work in the ring. That's the mentality of ring conf, as Walter puts it. You didn't really see a lot of that as the match continued on with the way it was worked. And it really sold how a big guy could take on a little guy, because Dragunov's not a huge dude, but he's booked to be insane, and that he can take out anybody, no matter the size.
Oh yeah,
it made it believable. My suspension of disbelief didn't have to be suspended high above in the rafters.
Not at all. Yeah, like you said, he's a small guy, but just that persona that he has about him, you can tell this dude is a badass, and he can take a hit and he'll just continue. He never gives up, and it's believable. You know, it's not something that they're forcing down our throats. It's just something that is there naturally, organically.
Yeah. No, the more and more I watch WXW, and consistently I might add, as opposed to years past, I'm more and more impressed with the promotion and what they're capable of. We saw heel versus heel earlier in the night. We saw heel turns. We saw a women's main event, which we'll get into right now as soon as I say, and then the face versus face for the main title. So go on, Rad, with the one last thing we'll touch on.
So moving on over to the next match, which was the main event of the pay-per-view, and it was definitely the one that I wanted to see the most, and that was the women's championship match between Toni Storm defending her title against Tenille Dashwood. Obviously two big names going into this match.
Mm-hmm.
The match itself was freaking amazing. These two women really know how to wrestle. They performed, fantastically in the ring. I can't say any more about them other than that. This match was really one to see, and they really know what the true definition behind women's revolution is, and these two gals really showed it.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't Charlotte Asuka level, but it was definitely a very good match. It was well worked, as you said. I had no complaints over it. There was nice little heel maneuvers by Dashwood. She was definitely the heel going to this match. But because they come from the same country, they kind of had that same roots. A lot of respect for each other. That was shown. Everything was very believable and in character. And Dashwood, I believe this is one of her first events, I think, in Germany.
Yeah, I believe the commentators mentioned that.
Yeah, so I found that interesting as well. They had a nice little kind of one-on-one interaction in the back post match, and how Toni Storm was telling Dashwood that she was a major influence in her becoming a wrestler. They both coming out of Australia, and Toni Storm Toni Storm kind of poked her, and he's like, "And now I'm beating you in Germany for a title, and we main evented." And Dashwood's like, "All right, your ego's a little."
Yeah.
So it was a fun little interaction.
Yeah, here we go, another full circle in the story, so to speak, and I think they pulled it off well. I think that's what made it work as well, that they just had that history, going into this match. And I mean, hell, if this wasn't on the WXW card and just on any pay-per-view, traditional pay-per-view, I might add, I definitely pay money to see this, and it was definitely worth it.
Yeah, I quite liked how they didn't kind of BS around, to kill time. They just went move for move. There was nice little technical exchanges in there, and then Toni Storm hits the big German right into a strong zero, match over. None of this kicking out after three finishers stuff.
Right.
So I mean, and that leaves it up for maybe even an even better match down the line. Who knows? Toni Storm's next opponent was announced. It is Kaylee Ray.
Looking forward to that.
And there's some continuity there. When Toni Storm first showed up in WXW, Kaylee Ray beat her in like 2 minutes in like a squash match.
Oh, she has to prove herself now.
So Toni Storm, in an interview on Shotgun, they asked her about it. It's like, how does it feel? And she goes, well, when I first showed up, she beat me in like 60 seconds. But now I'm the champ. 3 years is a long time. I'm a different person. I'm unbeatable right now. And now I'm taking on Kaylee Ray. So I think she even says we come full circle, and she's not beating me this time. It was pretty cool. I'd like to hear what Kaylee Ray has to say about it. She hasn't done an interview that I know of. So I'm looking forward to Toni Storm's future defenses. I stopped following WXW on Twitter just so I won't be spoiled on it, because I'm really afraid that all the rumors of all these wrestlers for WWE's little summer thing they got going on with the UK, and then buying contract offering all these people that Toni Storm signed with WWE full time, and it'll cause her to drop the title. I think she's doing too well outside of WWE, but hey, you know, I'm not her. I don't make the decisions for her. Obviously, it's just a fan that wants to continue seeing what she's been doing good at right now. Well, that was Superstars of Wrestling. Definitely the best pay-per-view, hands down in the indies recently over this last month. I do have some notes to remember and remind our audience that wrestlers like James Storm, Joseph Connors, Austin Theory, and Evolve, Danny Jones, they're all on my radar still. They're just in ICW. There just hasn't. I just don't really like ICW. I watch some matches every now and again. They just don't. It's like GFW. Like it's okay at best. Like nothing's blowing me out of the water. Even the storylines are just kind of okay. But Joseph Connors is set to appear in the next WWE UK tournament along with El Ligero from Defiant, Joe Coffey, Kenny Williams, just to name a few guys. Jordan Devlin, I believe, is also scheduled to show up there again, the big Irish dude who looks like Finn Balor's cousin. So looking forward to that. Yeah, a lot of returning names there. So that does it for our indie scene. Pleasant surprises here. Match of the year candidate I was not expecting, for sure. I was expecting a good match out of Walter and Dragunov. I wasn't expecting match of the year, honestly.
Right.
You know, pleasant surprise. I'm always happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, why don't we move on to probably what people are more familiar with, and that was the big events in our Tier 2 New Japan and Ring of Honor events. What do you say?
Sure, let's do this.
All right. Okay. Something we didn't get to last time was the Hinokuni event in New Japan. It was kind of the thing coming out of the Road to Dontaku series that they do, and right before Dontaku. The main event here was the Never Openweight title, Hiroki Goto. Mm-hmm. Defending against Juice Robinson. And holy crap, Rad. You watched this match, right?
No, this is not a match that I watched, but I did hear about it. I know that Juice Robinson really pulled off quite a performance.
Oh, this is, I mean, from what I've seen out of Juice Robinson, I think this is the best match of his career. He's come such a long way, just even over the last year. Just comparing his previous match against Hiroki Goto, where it was kind of sloppy. Juice looked more green than usual, and Goto is like one of the best technical wrestlers in the world. He can work with anybody easily, and Juice looked like he had a lot to learn still. And this match was incredible out of Juice Robinson. I was very surprised and very happy. This was a fantastic match, minimum 4 stars. Yeah, Rad, you should definitely go out of your way to at least watch, like, find a video of this and watch this particular match. That I mean, people talk about Kenny Omega and what we'll get to with the Tanahashi Okada match. This was my takeaway out of what we're covering here. This match right here, because I loved everything I saw from Hiroki Goto, from the selling, making Juice Robinson strong, the evolution of Juice Robinson, and how these two work together. It made me actually care about the Never Openweight title. I wanted Juice Robinson to win, and I'm a big Goto fan.
Yeah.
I was speechless after it. So there you go.
That's great. I mean, you know, after this match, I guess we can say that title is important now, and that's a good thing.
It definitely made me care more about it, and that's a good thing. Because before this, I was like, it's Goto's title. I mean, that it just looked like a strap he had, kind of like Brock Lesnar has a thing.
Sure.
Yeah, but this match made me care. I was so surprised and so happy. I was looking forward to it. I thought it was everything was done right. Everything what needed to happen did happen. The exception being you wanting Juice Robinson to win, and he just couldn't get the big ones. That leaves something open down the line.
Right.
But the thing everyone's coming out talking about was definitely Wrestling Dontaku. Not their biggest pay-per-view of the year. Think of it as like their a B pay-per-view in the E. Not much coming out of day one. The main event was Kenny Omega against Hangman Adam Page. And my two notes here in front of me is Omega's so damn good, he doesn't need a title to fight for. He even said that post-match in a promo. And
I think we all agree with that.
Oh god, yeah. I mean, he can wrestle against anybody and just look fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
My other note here is the improvement of Adam Page continues. With this Hangman character, it works for him. He looks like a badass. He looks like a contender. He looks like he can compete. The correct guy won in Kenny Omega, but I was officially sold on Hangman Page previously, and this match just continues that trend for me. I may not like the guy. I'm not supposed to. He's a bad guy.
Right.
But I'm definitely
mentality.
Yeah. I definitely respect what he's doing in the ring and his performance he's putting on.
Yeah, he's definitely on the way, and I think the bookers know this, and that's why they're booking him the way they are, because they have a lot of confidence in the guy, and I think we, the audience, definitely have faith in where they're going with Hangman Page. I think we're all buying it, and it's good to see. We already have another star, on the way, and he's looking really good.
Oh yeah, he's definitely climbing the rankings in my book. I look forward to seeing more of him.
He's finally stepping out of the shadows, I guess, like a Bullet Club. Before he was always just
exactly.
Yeah, it was like, oh, just that guy with the rope. Nobody remembered that guy. But now he's actually making a name for himself, so that's real good.
He's not hanging out with the crown jewel in the background, you might say, anymore. God, I'll get into frickin' Chase Owens stuff in the next cast.
Another one. Yep.
Oh my God, you've seen what's been happening there. It's too funny.
Yeah.
The other guy that's sticking out to me, at least with kind of a subtle push going on, is Evil. The Master of Darkness, all is evil guy, the guy with the rainbow hair and the dark eyeshadows. He's getting pins left and right in all of these multi-man matches, and he's kind of sticking out in these as well. Very good showings from him. It's just enough where I'm noticing it. I don't know if you've noticed this, Rad, or had the time to watch a lot of these multi-man matches in Japan.
Yeah, no, I haven't had the time to watch them per se, but definitely following the results, and I totally agree with you on this one.
Yeah. Okay, so before we get into kind of the big reveal, I did interview Travis on this because he watched Dontaku, which is a rare thing. So we'll definitely come back. Okay. We'll come back to the major talking points after I talk to Travis here. All right?
You got it.
Okay. Interesting points by Travis. I think he agrees the same with you and I, Rad, what we're about to talk about. So there was LIJ against Suzuki Gun. If memory serves, I don't have who they faced. That's hardly the point. The point is that someone was in a Bushi mask, and Naito was coming out of his little win, Mr. New IC Champ, who doesn't come out with the belt. And guess who beat the shit out of him, Rad?
Oh yeah, none other than the man. We all drank it in.
Emo Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
Oh man, Lista Ingornables de Jericho. And I have to have this shirt.
Yeah, 1999 Raven plus Jericho.
It was great.
Man.
Yeah. Oh, you definitely saw what happened here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, tell me your thoughts.
Well, I don't know. I'm kind of a little bit iffy on obviously how he looked. I know a lot of people made fun of that part, but with that aside, I think just the story itself and how Jericho all of a sudden, just went nuts and whatnot and did what he had to do. I think that was great TV. And again, it's the best thing coming out of this is that it's always believable. It's always real, looks realistic, and that's what I like about New Japan Pro Wrestling. Taken aside from everything else, like I said, the way he looked and whatnot.
Right. Yeah, I thought the way he looked was kind of funny, but I think he was trying to blend in with the mask more.
Yeah.
He tried to look like Bushi. That was my takeaway. But it was really funny. I mean, he was super heel, just like he was with Omega. The character is still the same. He's so hated in Japan, but they love him at the same time.
Yeah.
But they hate the character kind of deal. I love it. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, and that's one thing I like about Jericho over there is that he doesn't have to hold back as far as like what he says and cussing, and he's not politically correct and he doesn't give a damn, that kind of thing. So that's really cool. I like it.
Yeah, it's definitely a callback to. I mean, this is the callback to the Attitude Era that people want. They don't want the crazy gimmicks again. They want stuff like this.
Yeah, the realism, so something I guess that we can believe if we were to see a real fight in the street, how somebody would actually act, and that's the cussing and throwing crap around. I mean, that's like you said it, that's what we want to see, not necessarily, the TNA from the Attitude Era or all those like bogus matches that were written by Vince Russo. Instead, it's exactly what Jericho pulled off here. So that's what made the Attitude Era great, and that's what we want to see again. Just realism. Make it PG-13 again.
Yeah, make the matches matter, basically.
Yeah.
Make us believe the guys hate each other. Like, even well, I'll go back to WXW. Even with Dragunov and Walter, two guys who are nice, they clearly had the competition. You got the feel of competition from them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, something as simple as that. You don't need to do what Jericho here tried to kill him. But it is nice when we see kind of the two we saw two polar kayfabe things going on here, stories going here. So
and just like you mentioned, everyone over there in Japan hates Jericho, but they love him at the same time. I feel that maybe this was the booker's way, or maybe Jericho's way of saying, okay, I got to do something like this so the fans can continue to hate me. This way they don't start getting a cheer there on TV and whatnot.
Right.
So I'm just thinking maybe attempting to kill somebody like Naito. I think that's the only way that they're gonna, get through the audience that Jericho is a full-on heel.
Yeah,
and it
works. I agree. Well, the now we'll get into the two takeaway matches. The junior heavyweight title was Kushida versus Ospreay, and they tore the house down.
Mm-hmm. Heard about that match.
So you did not see it?
No, I didn't see it. I need to catch up on that, though. I definitely will. It's on my to-watch list.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, these guys have torn the house down in the past. This time Ospreay's the champion, and Kushida's the guy gunning for it. And I have very mixed feelings on it, as I spoke about with Travis. How I thought Kushida was actually the better wrestler in this case. Ospreay was very reliant on a lot of his spots, as his style is. But the way Kushida was going out pacing the match and working it was my takeaway, and him being the better guy. He even oversold this crazy like corkscrew F5 thing going on. Very wild spot in the match. Definitely the moment of it. But Ospreay won. I think the right guy won. He's definitely the guy going forward.
Yeah, these two guys are definitely two incredible performers. So the fact that they went at it, it's no surprise that they tore the house down. And Ospreay is definitely on everybody's radar right now. So yeah, in the end, I would say that the right guy won.
Yeah, I think this was the match of the night. Personally, that's just my opinion, of course. I think the Goto Robinson one was even better from a wrestling standpoint, and the improvement standpoint as well of Juice Robinson. In the fact that Goto can work with the guy at the same time. Now there's Okada with his 12th or 13th defense or 16. I don't know what number it is anymore. They change it all the time for what it actually is. Defending the streak, so the defense streak against Tanahashi, the current owner of the streak that he's tied with. So good little build here. Very simple. I thought this would go to this type of match would be at Dominion, but they decided to do it here at Dontaku, which I was quite surprised about.
Mhm.
It's been regarded as 5 stars. I personally don't think it was 5 stars. Or no, it was like 5.25 stars for some reason. Actually, it was above.
Okay.
You know, fine, okay. I think it was really good. It was definitely a certainly smooth and well worked match. I mean, Tanahashi looked ridiculous. He looked like he was 10 years younger again.
Wow.
Maybe that has a lot to do with the way Okada was moving in the ring and helping him out. They definitely work so well together. There's no doubt
they
there.
have chemistry.
You've seen these two fight before, haven't you?
Yeah, I've seen a couple of matches.
Yeah, well, tell me what you think of the streak continuing since Okada won. Maybe the character of Okada and Tanahashi, and maybe your thoughts of their past matches.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it. I know a lot of people are already starting to say that Okada is, winning too much these days. But I mean, the Rainmaker. I mean, come on, this guy's an incredible performer. He's definitely a go-to guy, I guess, to watch whenever you're watching New Japan Pro Wrestling, event. He definitely sells. As far as the two working together, they definitely have, great chemistry, and both are excellent performers. You know, I will say though that between the two, Okada always brings out the best in Tanahashi.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's similar to maybe watching an AJ Styles versus John Cena match. John Cena won't give that good performance unless Styles is helping him out and making him look good. And I think Styles has brought the best out of John Cena. So being that Tanahashi is essentially, I guess, the John Cena in New Japan Pro Wrestling, I can definitely say the same thing here. Okada definitely brings out the best out of Tanahashi, and the two work well together. So, and with that being said, I guess this is definitely on my to watch list as well. I definitely have to check out this event. But I really trust your judgment, JD. So, is it 5-star plus match? I don't know. I guess I'll have to make that call myself, but I would have to agree with you. If this wasn't match of the night, I guess it would definitely go to Kushida versus Ospreay.
Yeah, but again, I mean, it's just my personal opinion. You know how critical I am of technical being technical in matches and
yeah,
not so spot
you're a tough
festy.
cookie, JD, and I think it's but one thing that I've noticed is a lot of the things that I think you mention or bring up that I totally agree. I think we agree on a lot of things, so that's why I'll just go ahead and take your word for it. So
yeah, I'm not saying it's a bad match by any means. It's definitely worth watching for sure.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. It's on my to watch list. Like I said, the two big names in New Japan Pro Wrestling. How can I not?
Would you say it makes the list?
It makes the list.
You just made the list!
I had to do
I'm
it.
guessing, are you going to put in a Jericho plug there? You just made the list.
Oh, absolutely.
Nice. Definitely mark down the timestamp.
Oh, for sure. So, like I said before, moving on to Ring of Honor. Man, just not much has been happening. I tried to take the time to go to Toronto to go to War of the Worlds, but everyone I know there was busy. And I'm actually glad I didn't go. Even though freaking tickets to indie events are like $20 these days. They're very affordable. Yeah. I'm trying to go to Evolve 107, which is going to be in Massachusetts here next month in June.
Oh, really cool.
Yeah, hopefully Walter's there and I'll get to
pay to see the bro man.
Oh god, I know. I'm like, I'm going to have to see Matt Riddle, but it's okay. Walter, Ring Conf, like Timothy Thatcher, Austin Theory is probably going to be there. He's like their midweight champion. Like I'm holding out hope that those guys are there, and then I'll just deal with the Matt Riddle situation.
Yeah, but that's really cool. Yeah, I think Evolve is a good promotion. I think they're deserving to be much bigger than they are. They definitely have high production value and a lot of great talent. So, kind of reminds me of I guess TNA when they were first starting out a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. The roster is, I think, too small for what it's capable of.
Yeah,
I'm hoping it gets bigger. I know they just lost Keith Lee to WWE. That's for sure.
Yeah, a lot of their stars end up in WWE NXT, I might add. So
I believe they have a kind of a a partnership, kind of like Progress Wrestling does in the UK.
Yeah, I have heard of that.
Yeah,
and
a lot of the
I wanna see
wrestlers
that
also show up.
Salvadoriano ended up in NXT a while back.
Yeah. A lot of Evolve guys also show up in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, and that's how WWE scouts a lot of them.
Triple H.
Yeah, that's how he does it, instead of kind of the whole old school McMahon of just their own, whoever shows up at their own performance center, and if you're big, you get a shot.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not that anymore. But back to Ring of Honor. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because there's really not a whole lot to talk about.
Okay.
Bound by Honor, good showings from Jay Lethal. Kenny King versus Marty Scurll was a good match, decent enough. The strong push of Matt Taven continues. Punishment Martinez attacked Adam Page.
Oh,
or kind of a rivalry going there. That was interesting. I thought. But everything from Bound of Honor was, or Bound for Honor, or Bound by Honor, whatever it was called. Everything was just kind of like 3 stars. It felt. It's just like, who do you mark out the most to? And like I'm a Marty Scurll mark. I'll fully admit it. So I liked his match more because of the character work. I like what's going on with Matt Taven and the Kingdom. So the fact that he keeps winning is good. Jay Lethal, I mean, come on. Do I need to say anything more than that?
Matt Taven definitely getting a push these days, so it's good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I just felt like I was watching kind of an episode of Raw. I'm just going through the motions kind of deal. Nothing truly stood out there.
I guess maybe like their version of a filler pay-per-view, but still a heck of a lot better than Backlash.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah. No doubt. War of the Worlds was in Toronto. The Briscoes put together a series of good matches. War of the Worlds was it was like 3 events across 3 different cities, but the main one was in Toronto. The Briscoes put together a series of good matches to defend their tag titles. But it seemed like, I don't know, I didn't watch every event of these. It was just so much wrestling to take in. But I read a lot of like chair shot articles and whatnot that covered it more in depth. And I'm like, okay, I'll check this match out, this one. I watched all the main events with the Briscoes. They're a solid tag team, no doubt. They're one of the best in the world. I love their gritty look. Kind of wish the homophobia thing would kind of go away, but that's another issue altogether. But I'm separating the wrestler from the actual person here.
Yeah,
basically, and they were main events. I thought maybe they could have booked something more intense or more, at least in the case of Toronto, since it was a much bigger crowd. Maybe a singles match for like at least the mid card title or something. I don't know. Good on the tag teams. I'm always happy, but with who the Briscoes were facing, it just didn't feel right. You know what I mean?
Right.
The most notable match of all this in Ring of Honor was the Young Bucks taking on the Super Smash Bros. Have you heard of these guys?
I have yet to see their performances though.
That is because they are a Canadian tag team, and I actually have seen them multiple times in Canada when I was living there.
Okay.
One guy's kind of fat, but he moves well enough, and the other guy, they have their little Nintendo gimmick going on, little retro video gaming thing. They're very entertaining. They work damn well together. Like years ago, they were in PWG, and they were probably on the fast track to get signed by WWE in like 2013. They tried to go through. This is just a little backstory on them for people that aren't familiar with them. They tried to go through the U.S., like get the proper work visas and everything. Well, the U.S. government has this like vendetta with them by going through legally to work and go back and forth. So they just can't get work visas.
Okay.
Because they're independent, right?
Which would explain why I guess a lot of people are not too familiar with them.
Yeah, they're pretty much stuck in Canada. Now, my problem is that they don't have to just wrestle in Canada. They can also go to like UK and Germany. So I'm wondering why they aren't broadening their own horizons. I mean, that's just my little question to throw out there. They don't have to wrestle in the US, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's plenty of guys in the UK that only wrestle in Europe.
Oh yeah.
I guarantee a Canadian can get a work visa in Europe much easier than the US, especially with how the US is stingy with visas these days. They're on record saying like the process of getting this visa is just a nightmare. But the Young Bucks in Super Smash Bros. Was a crazy spot fest. It was like a callback to the old Ring of Honor Young Bucks, where it was just spot.
Yeah, over and over.
Yeah. But the Super Smash Bros. Were able to keep up with them. You know, hit all their tag team moves, move for move, like they matched the Young Bucks. So that's what I took out of it. Even though this match isn't my style, I was thoroughly entertained with what I saw. I would say 3.5, 4 stars. Put a star rating on it. But everything coming out of this was about 2.5, 3 stars, pretty much.
Okay, so it was fair. It was good, but not great.
Yeah. For the women, 2 women in Ring of Honor to look out for: Kelly Klein and Deonna Purrazzo.
Oh, definitely. Those 2 women are, I guess, would be considered Women of Honor veterans at this point.
Yeah, and they definitely stand out from the pack.
Yeah, they do. Those girls know how to wrestle.
Yeah, there's absolutely no doubt. Hope they do well. I hope I see more of them, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that does it for Tier 2, Rad. So we've come to this point in the show. Where? Oh no. Are you regretting it?
Here come the complaints.
God. All right, so Rad, before you and I kind of have a heart to heart here on WWE, we're gonna take this over to Travis. All right, get his thoughts, and we'll come back, and we won't have to talk about it as much because me and Travis had already done it.
Sounds good.
All right. Welcome back, Rad. Welcome back. It is time to talk 205 Live first. Have you been keeping up with this kind of, sorta?
No, not at all. And as you know, very vocal about it, I could care less for the product. They still have yet to show me something that makes me care for it. So I don't really follow it as much. Maybe here and there I'll kind of like maybe check out, the results or whatever, but I haven't followed it as of late.
Well, I got a match for you to check up on.
Okay.
It is Buddy Murphy versus Mustafa Ali for the #1 contendership cruiserweight title. That is the match you should watch. It's been a good show, much like what I spoke about earlier with Ring of Honor. Nothing, fantastic, but very solid.
Good nonetheless. You know what? And Mustafa Ali, I would say, has been standing out from the rest of them. I really like the guy, the person, so down to earth. And he's an incredible performer in the ring. Has an awesome entrance, incredible ring gear. So the dude definitely has it. So I do believe you when you say that this guy was involved in a match, I guess, worthy to check out.
Absolutely. That's real. I mean, the Buddy Murphy best kept secret storyline they got going. He looks just like he looks money. He looks like he could bring the cruiserweight. Just in my little fantasy booking mind here, he looks like he could be that guy with the mic skills to just show up on Raw and challenge, like do an open challenge with Seth Rollins kind of deal. It looks like he's believable. He's a heel character. I hope Buddy Murphy does what Neville was able to do, was make the cruiserweight title at least relevant. So that's my hope there. But let's talk about NXT now. Something you're definitely more familiar with.
Sure.
Have you been keeping up with it week to week?
Yeah. I haven't really, seen the program per se, but I've definitely been following it.
All right. Anything stand out to you?
Stand out always. Ciampa, man, this guy knows how to play the role of a heel very well, and I give the guy extra points for that.
Oh my God, he came out to no music yet again. Yeah. And then like the next week he came out to Johnny Gargano's music.
Yeah, that was great.
It's great. I love that. It's just old school type heel work. It's great. The pictures of Adam Cole and the rest of Undisputed Era like tanning out with the sunscreen on their noses and everything, using the belts as reflectors.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Everything that's happening there. Haven't seen much of EC3. He had his debut match. He cut a really good promo. it's just an hour that they got to do. Haven't seen like anything out of Aleister Black. He's the champ that's just kind of, I guess, taking it easy for now.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up. Being that we're Saturday tonight, I believe NXT might be in San Antonio, Texas, which isn't far from me. And I heard that Aleister Black wasn't even on the card, and a lot of people, I guess, were expecting to see the guy. So maybe he hasn't really been involved as much as we would like to see him as.
Yeah, I mean, there was a match with Eric Young after Ciampa beat the crap out of Johnny Gargano, because that was set up as Gargano versus Black on 1 week. So, in a lot of ways, NXT is very good, but in a lot of ways right now, and this is just my perspective, is the talent pool is too filled right now.
Yeah.
There's just not enough time to go around.
1 hour. Yeah, it's just 1 hour weekly, and I guess that's why maybe they take their time. You'll see certain superstars 1 week, and the next it's a different set of stars.
Yeah, they're kind of trading each other out, which is fine. I'd rather have that than a 3-hour show. Which, by the way, the rumor is SmackDown is being moved to. They're striking a deal with just non-cable TV, and it's going to move to a 3-hour show.
Oh God, it's like they just keep on doing the opposite. Oh man, yeah, I don't know how that's going to help, but either way, I guess back to NXT. Being that it's an hour weekly program, like you mentioned, the roster is stacked. Even though they continue to bring superstars over to the main roster, they still find themselves in this position. Mm-hmm. But that slowly build, I think, is what helps the NXT TakeOver pay-per-views be so successful. Is that we're invested in all this time until finally we get that climatic match, and it's great and it works. And that's something that's missing in WWE today, because obviously we get a monthly pay-per-view, if not sometimes 2 pay-per-views a month, and it's just too much for the crowd. They're just they're going to get bored real easily.
And WWE tends to, at least on the main roster, blow their load on a lot of matches. Like we just saw Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins. I'm like, why not just save that like at a
a major pay-per-view? Start a build up now and build up towards a match at SummerSlam. That's the way it used to be back then. We just had the big 4. And I have a feeling that's part of the success with NXT TakeOver. What makes it so great is that they have all that time to do that slow build, and that's what wrestling needs.
Yeah, I mean, we even saw a match of Velveteen Dream versus Ricochet, kind of a lot of NXT fans' dream match scenario, and there was a heavy, like hard, fast-paced little exchange. Everyone was like losing their minds. There's GIFs on Twitter for it, and then as like I was watching it, and then all of a sudden you hear the crowd just go, "No, why?" Just like once the exchange was over, and then there's Lars Sullivan just hits the ring and kicks the shit out of both. Everyone, the fans, just booing him because he just ruined this like dream match scenario, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is so good." Because I watched that exchange 3 times before I even got to the Lars Sullivan interference.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, but yes, at the same time, because I know it's gonna happen again. Oh, sure. and then Dream and Ricochet cut to looking at going into William Regal's office. Like, we got some similar business we want handled. And then they teased a handicap match with Lars Sullivan. Like, yes, this is the shit I want. Why can't the main roster do anything like this? Why do we have to have Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins now for the IC title? Why can't it be at Money in the Bank?
Yeah.
You just had Mojo Rawley answer the open challenge. Why couldn't it just be another undercarder? Why not? If Mojo Rawley could put on a good match for TV, why can't someone else?
Right.
Get the bigger talent who lost his Money in the Bank spot to try to find his way on the card. I don't know. It just seems like simple decisions to me. But hey, when you're making as much money as WWE is these days, they don't have to do anything really.
Yeah, they've gotten way too comfortable, and I think this new TV deal a while ago with SmackDown, with the SmackDown brand, is just proof of that. I think they're just way too comfortable, and regardless of what we hate, to see or not, they're still going to make the money, and that's the ultimate goal. And they've already gotten to the point where they're going to get the money anyway. Whether we're not seeing the product or not, or, whether we're seeing the product or not, they're still getting my $9.99 from the WWE Network. That's all I care about, you know. Maybe it
Well,
is
we're
time to
using
cancel
that. We're using that $9.99 to talk about old wrestlers.
Yeah, I mean, just make some use out of it. And to be honest, JD, the only thing that has kept me from canceling is probably just access to, you know, old WCW programming. You know, I love to get my retro World Championship Wrestling fix every now and then. You know, episodes of Nitro, Thunder, stuff like that. So that's the only thing that keeps
Have
me
you watched
coming back.
anything of note lately?
No, as a matter of fact, I've been wanting to start, I guess maybe like a marathon with WCW Thunder. I just haven't got around to it, but I've definitely already started that, at least for the first couple of episodes. But I would like to see it maybe on a
Ooh.
weekly basis, you know.
Maybe we can make that into a little segment,
Oh, that'd be awesome, man. I
little
freaking
retro
love
Thunder
WCW.
segment.
Yeah, that's what I grew up on. So if we could definitely talk about Nitro or Thunder, that'd be great.
That'd be great. Yeah, that could be your own thing, and then I'll just go down memory road.
Yeah.
Since I'll be watching a lot of the other stuff going on these days. Anything else to talk about with NXT? I mean, I love Adam Cole with the North American title. It seems to be kind of that weekly title going on. The tag belts seem to be kind of in this limbo right now.
Yeah, definitely. I think the tag titles, we really don't know, you know, what's going to happen with that. They're just pretty much, I guess, playing guitar and then walking around. But the North American title, I guess we can consider it like, I guess, the new television title. Of course, I would like to see it defended a lot more.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
it's caught me by surprise. I didn't really think that it was gonna be the way we're you know looking at it right now. So it's really cool. And Adam Cole, baby, has a new shirt, so that's really cool too.
oh, he does.
Yeah,
He has it officially.
it's still Undisputed Era themed,
Uh-huh.
which is fine. So I think the logo is on the sleeve and on the back, and in the front it says Adam Cole, baby. So that shirt
Ooh.
debuted last week for pre-order, and I know a lot of people on social media were picking it up. So
Oh, I need
gotta
that
get mine.
immediately.
Yeah, you know, I've procrastinated in getting the Undisputed Era T-shirt, so maybe now I'll just get the Adam Cole T-shirt, and
Oh
that'll
yeah,
be
that one's mine as well.
Yeah, represent our favorite faction on NXT or WWE programming.
For
again.
sure. I wish I could buy. I really wish WXW had a bigger selection of T-shirts. I'm definitely gonna get the Jurn Simmons, the marquee player shirt.
Oh, that's
and
pretty
then
cool.
yeah, I really like that. I'm a big Jurn Simmons fan. The Dutch, I like calling him the other Dutch destroyer. And then there's an Avalanche T-shirt as well.
Oh, nice.
It's like it looks like a giant Mountain Dew symbol.
Gotta get that one for Travis.
Oh yeah, I gotta show it to him because it's only like €10, so that's like $13. That's
not bad. Man.
Yeah,
that's
it's nothing.
Cool,
yeah, I want that. And then if I do go to that Evolve show and get myself a Ring Conf shirt. Mine's kind of in the shitter these days. Yeah, it's just fading and what have you. But yeah, I've also held off on the UDE shirt. I think it's okay. It's a lot of WWE shirts just don't do anything for me right now. But yeah, I want that. I've wanted an Adam Cole Bebe shirt, and that would definitely sell me.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting that one pretty soon. So
yeah, well, we've reached the part of the show where we can't ignore it anymore, and instead of talking about match by match, let's just thoughts on Backlash. I mean, I really
overall,
I really liked the Miz Seth Rollins IC title match.
Oh man, it was great.
I spoke with Travis. You know, I have a couple gripes about it, but it was easily the best show on the card. And then I liked what I saw out of Bayley on the pre-show, kind of pulling on some lucha techniques. I thought Bayley the last couple weeks, this pay-per-view, and then on Raw has really surprised me. She's actually wrestling.
Yeah, and I'm glad they gave that spot to her again, because I was kind of afraid where her character and even her in-ring performance was headed. But it seems to me that they've given her that time again to shine as a wrestler, and I have to agree with you. I'm surprised that match wasn't on the main card, but you know, put on the pre-show, if you will. I thought it was a really good match. You know, and then moving on over to the opener, the Miz versus Seth Rollins, it was an incredible opener, fantastic match. After watching that match, I actually had high hopes for Backlash. but I guess unfortunately we were all wrong after that. So it's like you come off a very strong opener, freaking awesome match, amazing, and then the rest of the show was just downhill from there. So
Yeah, it was. I mean, now that enough time has passed and a lot of the putrid hate has spewed nicely out of our bodies, we can finally
out of
like
everybody, and
Yeah.
it still comes back. There's still people, I guess, describing today's products with what happened at Backlash. That's sad.
Well, yes and no. The way I'm calmly looking at it now, and you know what, I'm gonna throw a job here, since we're getting into backlash.
Mhm.
I'm like, here we go. Let's throw on the Undertaker's gong. Oops. Okay. It didn't go, but trust me, it will in the in the post. Okay. So obviously the schedule is getting to all of the wrestlers right now. All of them. I think they looked slow in all their the exception of Miz and Rollins, for sure. They have definitely punched in their work ticket as the workhorses right now. Both those guys, and they showed it here. Everyone else, on the other hand, looked visibly tired. A lot of the older wrestlers were on the later cards. Samoa Joe, Jeff Hardy, Randy Orton, even what are some other names? Charlotte looks like she's been worked to absolute death. The majority of Backlash was a lot of rest holds. Even with the injuries now happening, it seems more obvious than now that this schedule is just killing him. I mean, Big Cass is now injured. We saw him tap out in 7 minutes to Daniel Bryan.
Mhm.
It looks like his knee blew out again or something. That's what reports are saying. Jeff Hardy's now injured. Randy Orton's injured now. He's going to be out until July at the latest, it seems.
Until when? When was that? Jay?
July.
July. Okay, that's a good solid 2 months there.
Yeah, it looks like he'll just make it back for SummerSlam.
Yeah, that's what
I'm
they're
not.
gonna go for.
I'm not
probably.
sure. I'm not sure. Nothing's really decisive about Jeff Hardy's injury, but I'm afraid he's going to have to relinquish the title.
Oh man, that's gonna suck. Just when, I guess the which is the one he's holding, the United States Championship, right?
Yeah.
Just when it started to pick up again, he'll end up relinquishing it, and somebody that doesn't deserve it will get a hold of it. So that's gonna suck.
I mean, it's just a roller coaster that's slowly coming to that stop. You know, it's finally caught up with a lot of the wrestlers. Charlotte's boobs exploded, her teeth got knocked out, like, and obviously the women's revolution to me is it died at Backlash. WWE can keep pushing their little agenda that they're pretending, but I saw more out of the German Wrestling Federation with their women's revolution pay-per-view than anything I've seen since WrestleMania. Like,
Oh hell yeah! I think you said it perfectly. That Backlash already killed the momentum, and the women's revolution is no longer present in the E. I think now they, again, going back to their level of comfort, they already just got way too comfortable. They're like, okay, we already have a women's division that is already taken off. What do? Let's use it to promote the Be a Star campaign and anti-bullying and whatnot. And I think that was a huge mistake, and it was a huge downfall. And now it's even affected, Nia Jax in the process.
yeah, they had a tour in the UK, and there was like an NBC or Sky like red carpet promotion thing going on for all the events that they were going to do in Europe now, and there was just this impromptu interview with Nia Jax challenging Ronda Rousey, and now they have a title match at Money in the Bank because it's Ronda Rousey. I'm like, all right, I'm seeing reports that WWE felt like they were backed into a corner, that they couldn't keep Ronda Rousey off another pay-per-view. Well, I don't see what the problem with her not having a match against Mickie James would have. What's the problem there? I would have seen it.
Yeah, I mean, we already had that. I guess the seeds were planted. We already had a rivalry that seemed to have started, and then it's like, oh no, it no longer exists. Put Ronda Rousey in a championship match against Nia Jax, and that's what we'll book for the pay-per-view. Doesn't make any sense. if Ronda Rousey is going to go for the championship, let alone even win it, it should be at a major pay-per-view, and I'm talking about the Big Four.
Yeah, well, I think WWE at this point sees Money in the Bank as a fifth now.
Yeah, that's true. And even me as the consumer, as the fan, so to speak, I do look forward to Money in the Bank. It's like my one of my new favorite pay-per-views of the year, as long as it's booked well and it's executed right. This is one match that I think is just too soon. Not to take away anything from the two women's wrestlers, but just the booking itself. I wouldn't have put Ronda Rousey to win the championship at Money in the Bank, regardless of its popularity now as that, I guess, honorary Big Fifth.
Yeah.
But definitely something at SummerSlam.
I think the only, I mean, it's just fantasy bookings here. I think you open up with the women's Money in the Bank match, and you have the winner immediately cash in on Nia Jax in the middle of this match. That way Ronda Rousey doesn't look weak. It was a cash in, and they bounce. Yeah,
that would be interesting, and we definitely need to see cash in on the same night again. It's been a while.
I think that's the only salvage you can do, because what if Ronda loses? Clean.
Yeah.
If Charlotte can lose clean to Carmella after she beats Asuka at Mania, then nothing would surprise me. But I'm done. I'm definitely done talking about it. It's definitely scary. I mean, I had a scary thought today with Adam Cole being called up to the main roster and being Michael Cole's son.
Oh yeah. I saw that in the chat. I totally agree with you, man. Because these days that would probably definitely happen.
Oh my god!
It's not something that's not feasible. It's definitely something that can happen in WWE.
But yeah,
it's scary, JD.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think Backlash was totally phoned in for the wrestlers to recover, sort of. It didn't even look like a match from the late '90s, early '80s. There was no selling, there was no making the moves look tight. The rest holds look tight.
Yeah, booking was lazy. Performances were even lazier. It was definitely just a filler pay-per-view. The wrestlers were collecting their paychecks, and it's just one of those pay-per-views that doesn't need to exist. I'm not saying the name Backlash. I think there's a huge history behind it, and Backlash used to, at one point, be one of the biggest pay-per-views of the year. I always looked forward to it. Mm-hmm. It was like everything that happened at WrestleMania continued, the rematches, but now with stipulation in place. And now it just seems to me that it became a filler pay-per-view. They're just collecting their paychecks. Again, it's all about comfort. This might as well just have very well been, a live event, and it's just, glorified and televised.
Absolutely, Red. It seems we're on the same page there.
Yeah.
What do you expect going forward into Money in the Bank, based on what we've seen from like Raw and SmackDown so far?
I would hate to say it as well again, but I think the way they're booking it right now seems that it's just going to be another glorified, easy event that they're just booking. I'm not sure we're going to get what we want, and that's, scary and it's sad.
Sure.
They're starting to treat Money in the Bank as kind of like a very gimmicky pay-per-view, these days, and that's how I see it. I'm definitely going to tune in. Again, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt because I do like the Money in the Bank ladder matches. I think it provides the entertainment that, lacks in today's product. At least, with that match alone, it's pretty entertaining to watch. But again, I'm just afraid that, not the right guy is going to win. There's going to be, very bad booking. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm really hoping that I'm wrong and they really prove us otherwise. But again, what we saw at, the Greatest Royal Rumble and then at Backlash, I'm just totally afraid for it. It's just something that they're comfortable with and they're just going to continue. It's just another gimmicky event.
Yeah. What do you think of 8 people being in these 2 ladder matches?
I'm okay with 8.
Okay.
I know the very first Money in the Bank ladder match was actually 6, but 8 is okay. It's better than 7. I never really understood why they would book 7 in the first place before. At least have an even number so that everybody has an opponent. But no, I'm okay with 8. is that a number that you're comfortable with, or do you think that's a little too much?
See, I have this thing. I don't know what it is, but I can't say I've gone home from a ladder match with more than 6 people saying, "Man, that stole the show." And that's a problem. I think it's too many people. I think it's too many people to highlight. It becomes just a couple dudes falling off a ladder at times, and then they're out of the match the rest of the time.
The gimmick. Yeah, they're just resting outside. And you always get that battle between 2 superstars climbing, and it's just the same formula.
Yeah, it never seems to end smoothly at all. I believe the only one that comes to mind that I remember, I believe, was the one Zack Ryder won at Mania. I think that was 8 people. Yeah, just on the fact that The Miz lost at the last second. Ryder won, which was a heavy surprise, but then it meant nothing within 24 hours.
Yeah, that sucked.
So I think we just came off an NXT New Orleans with a 6-man ladder match that got 5 stars, tore the house down, was amazing. I mean, 8 women in a ladder match? That's like the entire roster who doesn't have a title.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Like, why bother even having...
Too much.
Why bother? I think it should have been just 2 women from each brand. That's it. That's 4 people. That's 4 women total. That would have made the matches on Raw and SmackDown, those qualifying matches, mean even more.
Well, one thing I will say, I think everybody knows by now, Becky Lynch fan. She's my favorite women's wrestler today. I'm just glad that she actually qualified, because the match, when was it, last week, that she lost to
Mandy Rose.
What's her name? Mandy Rose. That was pretty scary. I was like, what the hell are they doing with Becky Lynch? But but at least I know now. We know that she'll be a part of it. I have hope.
I mean, SmackDown is getting into that atypical 50-50 booking hard lately. I just watch YouTube highlights. Honestly, I watch them before bed, and I'm just like, okay, that happened. Next, I move on.
Yeah.
I'm having my
keep up with the results.
Yeah, just to keep up. I mean, they're 3-hour shows a pop. That's 5-6 hours of WWE a week plus NXT plus 2. It's too much wrestling, especially for shows that don't even do anything for me. The 15-minute highlights is just something I watch like when I'm making tea, my next cup of tea.
Yeah, that's how I've been. I haven't really been watching it live, and then sometimes I try to force myself, and I'll choose at least SmackDown, because SmackDown is the brand that I have more interest in, especially with most of my favorite wrestlers are on that roster anyway. But even then, while watching it, it's like I have to force myself through a 2-hour show, and that's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just find myself just like you, JD, catching up on highlights, YouTube videos. WWE posts them almost immediately, maybe like 30 minutes after it happened.
Yep.
That's the way I catch up these days, and I'll just tune in the live pay-per-view, and that's even if I have time for it.
I've been watching my NXT on the network. If I see a couple 205 live matches that tear the house down, at least in their main events have been solid, so I definitely watch those every week. But that's it. Any final thoughts on the mid card Young Lion match of Nakamura and AJ Styles before we head home?
Well, I mean, going into Money in the Bank, let's hope that we see an actual awesome match. Similar to what they had at Wrestle Kingdom. Nothing else after. It's become a spot fest on who can hit the nuts harder, and that's sad.
Their best match was on SmackDown this past week, where Nakamura feigned a ball shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he won. So he picks the stipulation for Money in the Bank. I don't think we know what it is yet, but man, not a fan. You're not a fan of the double nut shot finish?
Not after watching it. When I heard it, it looked great on paper. As a matter of fact, I think I discussed with you and somebody else in Hibiki's chat. And when you told me that it was a double count out because they hit each other in the nuts, I actually thought that was hilarious. I was like, oh really? I've never seen that before. But no, that wasn't the place to do it. I think the platform to probably do that was maybe like a go home episode of SmackDown, and then have the serious match, at at the pay-per-view. But even then, the one time and the only time that we should have ever saw that cheap shot was at Mania when Nakamura turned heel. We should have never seen that again afterwards. But it seems to me that they already built it around that. So I wouldn't doubt it. They start releasing, T-shirts with the silhouettes of the two taking each other out via a crotch, chop and whatnot. It's just, oh man, it's just nuts.
They would. Well, a little teaser. Yeah. There's a match in the New Japan best of the Super Juniors, where they basically make fun of that feud. I know they were doing it. I know it. I'll describe it more in detail in the next cast. It was the Taguchi versus El Desperado match. It's. I can't believe that the fourth time they face each other, and on SmackDown of all things, not Mania, not this heavily money-making show in Saudi Arabia, not even Backlash is the best match that they've had. It's on SmackDown, just regular TV show.
Yeah,
makes no sense to me. I can't even remember off the top of my head. I'm WCW type stuff in its terrible days were like that. At least the stories were insane.
Yes, and that's what I don't understand, because this same company used to make fun of them for that, and yet they're doing the same, if not worse. It's baffling.
Yeah, I can't believe WWE has made me saddened to watch a Styles Nakamura affair. It's quite
become a joke.
It's quite something. I doubt even the fans even want this anymore. But anyways, this was episode 4 of the Wrestlecast on Red Leaf Retrocast. No regrets Backlash. Do we have regrets? Absolutely, when it comes to Backlash, but we have no regrets for this episode.
Straight up.
Well, thank you for joining us. Please leave an iTunes review. It definitely helps the podcast get out there, despite what you may think of iTunes. If you listen on any other platforms and it has reviews to be made, definitely write a review there, and then send it to me on Twitter at BowlingJD. I'd be happy to read it on the cast. I take all sorts of critique, and definitely look forward to the next one. We're definitely be covering, as I said at the top of the episode, Super Strong Style 16, 3-day event. We might just talk, the whole indie thing might just be over Progress. We'll be talking New Japan Best of the Super Juniors. That'll be a long time. That'll be a long conversation for sure. Maybe we'll catch up on some WXW and WWE talk. I'm sure we'll have something to talk about there, or at least discuss. And our retro wrestler, Rad, it was your idea. How about you? You let the audience know who we're going to highlight in the next episode, and then we can get out of here.
Awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're definitely going to highlight one of the greatest superstars in the 80s and early 90s, and probably a huge influence on why I got into wrestling in the first place, besides Hulk Hogan, and that was none other than the Ultimate Warrior.
The power of the Ultimate Warrior will come down to this podcast.
Yeah.
I've been watching way too many of his promos. God. I feel like I'm on cocaine when I watch him now.
Every single time, man. It really gets you hyped.
Makes no sense. You can't understand it, but god damn it, you want that music to hit.
You just keep watching.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. Join us in the next one in a couple weeks or so.
You got it. We're done, right, Judy?
Oh yeah, we're done.
Okay. I just didn't know whether or not to hit stop. It might go on maybe a second or two after yours.
Oh, that's okay. It's fine. Oh boy, that was quite the cast. I think that'll be our longest, with the addition of Travis's thoughts. That'll probably be the longest Wrestlecast, but we clocked in at just about 2 hours exactly.
Yeah. I think right now I have it at 2 hours and 6 minutes, going into 7.
Yeah.
Is that where you have it at? Okay, good. I'm already exporting it now on Wave.
Oh, good. Because I want this episode out on Monday, first thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely maybe either send it to you tonight or tomorrow.
That'll work for me, man.
Yeah, this was an interesting cast. A lot of good stuff.
A lot of good discussions, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Ultimate Warrior. Oh my god. I ended up watching. I took a ton of notes. I ended up watching. I know. We only have the 2 matches. I think the second match will definitely be change it from the first Rick Rude one to the second one at SummerSlam.
Okay, ooh, that's a good one. As a matter of fact, when I mentioned Rick Rude, I think I was thinking SummerSlam. So
I was as well. I thought Warrior's first loss was there, but it was actually at Mania to Rick Rude.
Yeah.
But yeah, I ended up
watching. It was
watching.
a long storied feud too. I mean, I remember they had man, what was it? Where they were showing each other's bodies off. Was that at the Royal Rumble?
That was where it started. Yeah, where they had the oil off.
Yeah, that was.
And Rick Rude got all angry and beat him up. Yeah, and then they fought at Mania. The little heel. Yeah, the little heel thing. Yeah, I ended up watching all of that feud. They only had the 2 matches together, but they were constant interfering. And then after that was the Hogan feud at Mania 6,
which is the other one we're highlighting, right?
Which is the other one we're highlighting. That match
awesome.
was
I'm
something.
definitely gonna revisit that one. One of my favorite matches.
That was the long. But the thing is, like all of Warrior's matches are so short.
Yes, that's why I'm thinking the ones that we ended up picking are probably the only 2 either way, because they were always squash matches, like less than a minute.
Like, I even watched one where I watched a couple of his like non-big, even the IC title matches against like Honky Tonk Man. Yeah, there was good heel work in a couple of them, but they would always end up in DQ, or Warrior would win in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, like even on his DVD sets, man, like there's like it's probably like the most DVD that they pack the most matches in. It's so funny because they could easily put like 50 matches in one DVD, and you can easily see them all in less than an hour.
Oh my god! I went through like the whole library of Warrior in like 2 hours.
That's awesome.
And I was dicking around with other things, like posting on Twitter and the Discord, and I was watching all the promo packages leading up to the match, and I'm like, well, that's over.
Hey, speaking of spotlights, are we ever going to do the Gail Kim thing? Because I was actually going to order her that new 3-disc set that she has at Impact Wrestling. I figured that might be a good platform to, brush up on some of her matches of old.
Oh, for sure. We can definitely. You want to do it after Warrior?
Yeah, I guess we can do that.
We can do
I
her
don't
after
know if you
Warrior.
agree with me or not, but one match that I definitely have in mind was when she wrestled. Oh man, what the hell is her name? The leader of the
Beautiful People?
No, not the Beautiful People. It was the other blonde gal from WWE. I'm having a brain fart right now. It's at the tip of my tongue.
Blonde.
She just recently retired. Blonde.
I know she faced Victoria a couple times under a different ring name.
It was at Slammiversary. I want to say it was 2012. It was like match of the year for the women that time. What the hell is her name? She was the general manager of ECW.
Oh.
I just totally forgot her name.
Oh, I can't remember either.
Yeah, it was she had the dollhouse, the leader of the dollhouse.
God. Yeah, I can't remember her name.
It's like, let me Google it really quick.
It's not Angelina Love.
No, it's not Angelina Love. I would remember that. And this is probably like the match of her.
Is it Velvet Sky?
No, not Velvet Sky.
No, she wasn't ECW.
Hold on, I'm checking it out right now.
Can you hear my cat purring now?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he just hopped in my lap. Like, pay attention to me. Been podcasting a couple hours.
Taryn Terrell. That's
oh
her name.
My god, yeah.
So anyway, so she had a match with Gail Kim, and I want to say it was like an Extreme Rules or hardcore match, and it was like all over the place. I definitely think that maybe that would be one match to highlight. That was a phenomenal match. When I think of Gail Kim and TNA, it was when she won the inaugural Knockouts Championship in that Battle Royal. What was it? 2007?
Yeah.
And probably that match, which was at Slammiversary. I can't remember if it was 2011 or 2012, but it was against Terrence Earl, and a freaking awesome match. And I know I have that one on DVD itself for the pay-per-view alone, but I am seriously wanting to pick up her 3-disc or 4-disc set. I don't know how many DVDs comes in it.
Yeah.
But
The match that stuck out to me was definitely like the cage match against Mickey James.
yes, that was another good one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll let you pick the two matches. And then we'll watch it and discuss Gail Kim. For sure.
Sounds good.
That we'll do that. We'll do her after Warrior.
yeah, that'll work. Yeah, then I guess I'll definitely pick up that DVD a lot faster. Maybe I'll place my order this week. It's definitely one I wanted in my collection anyway. I still collect wrestling DVDs. I don't know if you do still, but
no. Everything's like streamed and I got my anime thing and video games. I just picked up fucking 5 video games today during the GameStop sale.
oh, nice. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw my